I'm Doug Llewellyn for CUTV News. Today, we are going to be talking with someone absolutely fascinating who deals with subjects that will amaze you. They absolutely amaze me. For example, did you realize that you have angels around you most all the time? Apparently, from what our guest says, each one of us has angels who have been assigned to us from the day we were first born. And they're around. I don't feel them. They're here somewhere in this studio. We also have a guardian angel who at some point in life, when we are at our most serious danger, might be the one to reach out and save our life. That's just one of the fascinating things we're going to be talking about with our guest. In addition to that, our guest deals with subjects like past lives. We also are supposedly, or supposed to have had, many, many past lives. For example, I interviewed not very long ago a doctor, a very renowned doctor who's considered one of the pioneers of pain management in the medical field here in this country. He is highly regarded. He is convinced that he was actually a doctor in Egypt 3,800 years ago, and that he has had many past lives in addition to that. And if someone like that really, with that much credibility, can believe in it, this is something I think we all should pay attention to. I mean, it wouldn't be amazing to you if you knew what past lives you had? I could have been a gladiator in Rome 2,000 years ago. What bothers me is that I don't remember any of it. I wish I did. But in any event, those are just some of the things that our guest is going to be talking with us about, in addition to the fact that she communicates with Jesus. And she's not the only one. She says a lot of people do. And we'll find out how and why that happens. Barbara is not a strange, unusual lady. I've had the chance to interview her several times on radio, and she is for real. She had an amazing career in the corporate world for 30 years before she discovered the angelic world. And that's what brought all of this about. She's the founder of Angel Connections, and she has an amazing website, which I think you're going to find fascinating if you refer to it, and we'll tell you more about it. But first, I'd like you to meet her now. Her name is Barbara Hardie, and Barbara, it's a delight to be sitting next to you.
Thank you. It's a delight to be here. I'm so excited.
Well, look, I am too. I've talked about you and with you, and I've been amazed about what we talked about on the radio. Let's talk first about this business of angels. A lot of people don't believe in angels. I mean, you see angels on Christmas cards, at the holiday season, and that's about as far as it goes. Tell me how you discovered this angelic world you're talking about.
Well, when I was in the corporate world, I had a very bad day. I went home, I asked God to help me to find inner peace, and God is the one who led me to connecting with the angels, and then afterwards helping other people, because in the beginning I just wanted it to be all about me. I wanted them to just help me. I didn't want to spread the word, but they said, we've helped you, now we want you to help others. But Jesus is the one who told me that every single human has one angel. If they have one angel, their life is very, very calm, no problems, just, come here to finish up their contract. In as many as 5. I happen to have 2. Most of the people I read for have 2. Some have 3, but very few. But when I asked Jesus to let me know who would have 5, he gave Hitler as an example.
Now, why would that be? I mean, having 2 angels, that would be very good. It would give you, twice as much help as just one would.
Yes.
But why would someone like Hitler have had 5?
Well, because he had a very difficult life plan. His life plan included the whole world, not just Germany.
Right.
So what happened with him was he had the 5 angels assigned to him to help guide him on his path. His mission was to help humanity wake up that we couldn't stand or take what he was dishing out, him and his army. And how I found that out is when Jesus told me that he failed in his mission, I said, how could he have failed with history? And he said, think about how history would have been written if those multi-millions of humans that he and his army killed.
Yes.
I was searching for another word.
That works.
Killed. If they stood up and went against him, then he would have been successful in his mission, because he would have caused us to stand up. Do you see in our news what's going on now?
Yes. I see what you're
we
talking
need to stand up. That's what I've been told several times.
Somebody may be getting the wrong term when you say you communicate with Jesus. Explain what you mean by that.
Okay, through meditation, I I balance my energy. I surround myself with protection of God's light and love. And then I ask for my highest level light being assigned to me to come forward. And I had an ascended master come forward at first. And that was good. I trusted him, and being in the corporate world, we're not too trusting. So I trusted him, and he's the only one I would deal with. But then Jesus started to come to me. It was time for him, because he's assigned to work with me to become an ascended master in this lifetime. And every time he would say, "Barbara, this is Jesus," I would shut the meditation down and go to bed, because I figured, why would he come to me? But anyway, then my guide that I did connect with said, "You're doing yourself a great injustice, because he's been trying to connect with you. He's very patient, but you're testing him." So then I opened up, but I had to make him guarantee that he was Jesus, not somebody of darkness trying to say he was Jesus to get into my vibration. So then we started working together, and it's very easy. He connects with Archangel Michael is the one who told me that it's not a one-on-one, that at their high level of vibration, they can subdivide their energy and talk with multi-millions of humans at the same time. So while he's talking to me, he could be talking to a million other people, because their energy is so... If they came to us with their full energy, it would kill us. It would knock us out.
I see. It's kind of strange to hear that. A lot of people would love to be able to talk to Jesus,
Oh,
as
yeah.
you know.
Well,
but they can, according to you.
A lot of people talk to him, but they
Yes.
don't wait for a two-way conversation. But you have to. For me, it was meditation. I meditated. I groomed myself, and every single day I would meditate. And it's funny, when he scolds you, it's not like a human scolding you, because you get that love vibration with it. So even though you're being told, you could have done something different or better, you don't feel like you've been reprimanded. You're just being guided to do something a little bit better.
You do so many amazing things. I should point out, Barbara has written several books. We have them here. I'll show you. They're pretty fascinating books. She conducts workshops where she talks with people and explains all of this. You do readings for people. You'll take cruise ships and do readings on cruise ships and things of that nature. You're really into areas that a lot of people find mysterious, and find sometimes hard to believe. But again, at the beginning, when you really discovered angels, that there were angels, what convinced you that was real and started this business you're in now?
Well, I started, like they call it, automatic writing, journaling, and I'd have a pad. I'd sit on my back deck, and I would ask the angels a question. "Dearest angels, do you have an answer for me?" And then I'd ask whatever my question was, and then I'd let them give me the answer. And if it came about that it wasn't something that happened yet, and it came about what they were telling me in my writing, I started to believe, because like I said, I was the doubting Thomas, I think, in a past life, because I didn't trust in the beginning. I just felt, I believed in God, I believed in Jesus, and I believed there were angels, but I didn't know they were assigned to us personally.
Let me ask you a question. There are a number of questions that I want to ask you, but how do you think your life has been improved by connecting with angels?
Oh, so much better, because now that I've connected with them, if I get stressed out about something, it's only momentary. I don't carry it on for years. Like when I was a teenager, I used to write movies in my mind, getting even with people who did me wrong.
Right.
And, when I think of all the time that I wasted, but now all I have to do is, when something's going on that I don't understand, I just take a quiet minute and go somewhere, sit and find a quiet space, and I meditate, and I ask my angels or my higher self, because now I'm able to connect with my higher self. In the beginning, I wasn't. So the higher self has all of our answers to anything that's going on in our life, anything that's ever happened since our soul was first conceived. The higher self knows everything about us. So
that's an interesting term. A lot of people may not know what you mean when and I'm one of them. Okay. When you say your higher self, what is your higher self?
It's our higher God self, and I meant to bring a sample. Dr. Joshua David Stone was one of my mentors, and he drew a diagram in one of his books, and in it was a huge circle, and there were 12 extensions, like a clock, 12 extensions from that, and they trickled down, because God created that big monad. That's
Right.
huge, powerful energy.
Right.
But for us to be able to have a human experience, it had to trickle down. It couldn't come on Earth in the third dimension at the high 12 dimension, so it was too much of a fall. So from that 12 extensions they down, and that's called the Oversoul, the Higher God Self, or there's other names for it. But then from that part, there's 12 more extensions. And those little extensions is the soul that we carry in our physical body. What's happening is we're working our way back up. So as we grow to the Ascended Master vibration, we can reconnect with the Higher God Self. And then once all of our parts are back, then we meld with the monad, and that's when we become a God. And that's what's hard to believe. It took me 10 years to wrap my mind around that.
Yeah, it's hard to understand just like that. But it's for real.
Yeah, I've heard it from too many sources up there for it not to be real. I keep checking and double checking.
I feel very privileged to be talking to you because you talk to a lot of higher ups than I do. Now, why do bad things happen to good people if we all have angels?
Okay, that's good, because the angels are to protect us from, the really bad things, life and death situations. They can just step in and help us. But other than that, we need to ask. But we make a life plan of life lessons we're going to experience, or maybe balancing out karma from something we did in a past lifetime. So say we killed somebody in a last life, and we decided this time we're going to let somebody kill us. And lots of times when you see these murders on the TV and they're horrific, and my heart goes out to them, but I know that they put that in their plan. JFK, the president, that was in his life plan, to be assassinated for him because he had reached the Ascended Master vibration, and it was time for him to return home. So he wanted a quick and easy exit out of the physical body, and what quicker and easy way is there than an assassination?
Do you think he was aware of that?
Probably not. No, it was in his
so.
life plan, but also he was a reincarnation of Abraham Lincoln, and Abraham Lincoln took that same path out.
No, I've never heard that before. You believe that? No kidding.
I do, because I don't say anything. When I get information from Spirit, I trust it. But like in the book on darkness, they gave me a lot of stuff to put in there because I didn't know all this stuff was going on behind the scenes. They gave me stuff to put in there that I put in there just on trust alone. And now it's coming out into the news. One of the things was the manufacturers of clothing were putting chemicals, formaldehyde, into our clothing, which was causing us to be sick.
Right.
Well, United Airlines just had a class action suit. They bought 65,000 uniforms for their employees, and they were showing on the news huge welts on their body from the whatever was contained in those uniforms.
In uniforms, yeah, no kidding. There's so many different areas I could talk to you about. You're referring to past lives, the angel world. I should point out here, you have a fabulous book. Your first book, this was the first one, right?
Yes.
Creating Heaven on Earth, this is it. Barbara has written 3 books. Her books are all available on Amazon, and they're fabulous, and they're really gripping to read because they're talking about things like what we're talking about right now. If JFK had a past life, and we've all had past lives.
We all have, yes. Whether you believe it or not, it doesn't matter that you believe. It's spiritual truth.
But what you're really talking about is our spirit.
Right.
Rather than our physical being, right?
The physical
The spirit
being
leaves the body when we die.
Exactly.
And it may then come back, not may, it does, come back in another body.
Yeah.
How long, do you have any idea how long between?
At one time it was 100 years. You had to, when you were here, you had to go back and stay there on the other side 100 years. And then it was, first 1,000, then 100, but now it's immediate because of the vibration. We've risen to a higher vibration, so it's easier to come back into a physical body.
So that somebody who has lived, let's say, 50 years could die now and come back 2 weeks later? That fast? My God. Why don't we know this? Why don't we remember any of these past lives?
Well, that's what the veil of forgetfulness was all about. So when we decided on the other side, and we weren't kicked out of heaven because we went against God, humanity, that's not what we did. So what happened happened was God created the planet Earth and decided that, okay, well, now we have to have humans, because the third level of vibration from the seventh, where we were residing, was too low for all of our energy to come down. So we had to subdivide our energy and come down one extension at a time. And this is why we have the difference in the vibration of the two levels from seventh to third, and that veil of forgetfulness was God's intention for us was to see how light beings, we were created as angelic light beings, how light beings would react in a lower vibrating dimension where duality, and we had free will to make our choices, what the outcome would be. So it was an experiment for us to be here.
You get into something now. I remember talking to you about one when I was chatting with you on the radio. You mentioned at the time that we are in the fourth dimension.
The planet is anchored in the fourth dimension, and we're almost into the fifth dimension, which is the ascended master vibration, but there are a lot of humans on Earth that are higher than that, and their purpose for being higher than what the planet is to help bring it up to that fifth dimension.
And there are 12 dimensions altogether, is that right?
Yeah.
I wish I knew what you were talking about. I don't. I find this absolutely totally fascinating.
Well, it's funny because I was on my guest show.
Yeah.
I had Gary Bonnell, who was an expert on the Akashic Records, and he was talking and talking, and it was way over my head. And so I told my son that night. He said, "How did the show go?" And I said, "It was good, but when Gary was talking, I had no clue what he was talking about." He says, "It's kind of like when you're talking to us."
Have you done a lot of study to learn all of it? And where do you study? What do you study to learn this?
Well, I used to go to lectures and read others' books, but now I'm just getting it basically from asking above, because I'm one of those people I need to know.
When you write a book, does it just come to flow out of you, like the book on Creating Heaven on Earth, Your Guide to Personal Ascension? This was your first book.
Yeah.
Did you sit down and the book just kind of came to you?
Well, I was doing classes on ascension, so that part of it I had. They gave me a quote in there about Elvis committing suicide, so this book gave him an opportunity to confess. He gave me a quote for the book, to confess that he did commit suicide, so that resolved him of the karma that he would have had to come back into another physical body. Matter of fact, he is on the planet now. He was reborn in 2015 in California. I don't know what his name is, though.
There are a lot of people who say he never died.
I know, they've seen him. And it could have been, he was earthbound, and it could have been that they saw his image, his filmy image, his spirit image.
Yeah.
So, but that's how I started it. But when I sit down to write, if spirit comes, I get the full body goosebumps, and when I sit down to write, if they are with me, it just flows. And then I read it later and I think, oh my God, I don't even remember writing that down, so it's channeled. Last night I was at the hotel here in Brantford, and I brought some paper and stuff, and I was gonna start writing, and it wasn't coming. So finally I got the goosebumps, and they said, now is not the time, rest, relax. You can, the book will get written in divine time, so I'm not going to worry about it.
You are so amazing. What do you do in workshops that you conduct?
Well,
and who are they for?
Well, for anybody. I usually put an ad out, and the Ascension one is popular. The one I've done recently that people like the best is Path of the Soul. So it talks about what we do when we're on the other side in spirit form, how we're planning our human life, what lessons we're going to learn, who's going to be our parents, who's going to be our angels. We make all of that in our contract. They call it a blueprint. They call it a contract. They have a lot of different names for it, but we decide what we're going to experience in this lifetime. We can ask, once we're here, if, like I put 100 years in my contract. I'm now thinking maybe that wasn't a good idea.
You mean you want to live 100 years?
Well, yeah, so I could complete a lot and not have to come back.
Okay, all right.
But I'm thinking, so I can ask for a revision of that plan, but it's not that because I asked for it, I'm going to get it. They will meet with my higher self and a council of 12 ascended masters and 1 archangel, and they will review, like, if I if I don't stay the full 100 years, is there going to be an effect on anyone else or my soul? And if not, then I can go. And if I decide I want to stay more than 100 years, they make a decision that if people are going to grow spiritually as a result of my presence down here, then they'll say okay to that, or no, it's time for you to come home. And Dr. Joshua David Stone was the one I learned about ascension from. And he had 50 years in his, but I was part, because he was mentoring a group of us, I was one of his students, so I stayed behind, and he said that his time was almost up, but he was going to ask for a revision to get extended time, and he was happy to report to us that he did. He didn't know how much. It was 1 year exactly to the day.
Wow. You know, that doctor I talked about at the opening who believed he had been a physician in Egypt 3,800 years ago, he was convinced he's going to live to be 100. He's in his 80s now. I mean, he's well on his way to getting there.
Oh, yeah.
But no, he definitely believes that. He's convinced
yeah.
he will live to be 100.
Right.
What kind of reaction do you get from people who come to these workshops? And what are they coming for? What are they hoping to learn? What do you think?
Because I've been doing it for so long, especially in Connecticut, Massachusetts, New England, but mostly Connecticut, Massachusetts, they've learned to trust me and that, you know, I've got good information because where it's coming from. You know, most people say, oh, you're authentic. I remember when I was doing an expo in Maine. I hadn't really started Angel Connections yet, but I was just doing an angel lecture, and the room was filled. I mean, sitting room only. If the fire department came in, they would have closed the event down.
Wow.
And, well, they had a radio guy come, a local radio station. He came and he interviewed some of us, so I'm always early, so they interviewed me, and so it drew people to the show. But anyway, what happened was a woman came in and she said, I can't stay, I've got to go to the school to get my daughter, so if I leave, don't think I'm walking out because I don't like what you're saying. So when she got up to leave, she whispered in my ear, "You're so authentic." And I thought, oh, that's great. But I knew what authentic meant, but I didn't know how that related to me. So then I thought about it for a while, and I took it as a compliment. I knew it was a compliment. But I think when they come, they want to know what I know, and I'm willing to share it.
You know, you make these references to the other side. That's another thing that is kind of hard to really grasp. What is the other side?
Well, what people call heaven, but I've come to the conclusion some people don't like the word heaven, and they don't like the word God either. But I say that this is what I use as a reference. If it offends you, I'm sorry. But because I did a lecture in my area, and the woman came. And I said in the ad I was going to share my personal experiences I had with connecting with the angels. So again, the room was filled. And this one woman, she came with two friends, and she raised her hand, and I thought she had a question, and she said, "I'm offended." And she was really rude and arrogant about the use of the word God. Ordinarily, that would have thrown me, and I wouldn't have known what to say, but that's when my guides came in, and they answered her through me, very calm. And I said, well, if you remember in the ad, I said I was going to share my experience, and this is my experience. If you're offended by the word God, I'm sorry, that's not my intention, but take that word and transfer it into whatever word is comfortable for you. And her two friends took her over the coals for calling me out on using the word God. So people don't like the word God, and they don't like the word heaven. Why, I don't know, but the other side is, the other side of the veil, I guess, is what.
And, you know, there are those who communicate with people on the other side. Do you do that?
Well, I can deal with that, but my guides have told me my purpose is to help people to know what their soul purpose is, to know if they've got problems in their life, what they put in their life plan, and how they can resolve those issues. To connect with people's deceased loved ones, that's somebody else's responsibility. It's not that I can't do it, it's just I'm supposed to be doing something else.
So when you do a reading for somebody, I mean, you are psychic to a degree, would you say? I mean,
yeah.
You have to be, I would think,
have
sure.
To be. I've opened my awareness to connecting with spirit, yeah.
What do people... I was going to say, what do they want to hear, or what don't they want to hear when you do a reading for someone?
Well, usually if they have either a career issue, a relationship issue, or something, like I had a girl call me, And she had gone to a doctor. She had a problem in her female area, and the doctor kept saying, it's nothing, it's nothing, it's nothing. And she called me, and I said, I'm not a doctor. See, we're not able to give advice,
Right.
medical advice or
advice, sure.
financial advice.
Right.
And I said, I'm not a doctor. You know that. I can't answer that. She says, but can you give me any guidance? So she said, what did the angels say? So they told her that it wasn't life-threatening, but she really needed to get another opinion because there was an issue there that she needed to correct. So that's not a diagnosis, but just go get a second opinion. And she called me after she had the second one, and she had a tumor, and it wasn't malignant, but it had to be removed. And once it was removed, she didn't have the pain anymore.
Do you feel things about people, when you walk by them? Does it just come to you? Or do you have to sit down and connect with them?
I wait until someone asks me, because what Jesus and Archangel Michael both said, that Edgar Casey, you're probably familiar with him, the
Right.
sleeping prophet, that they kept warning him that he was using up too much of his energy because he was spending all his time, on, his
Right.
connection with the other side, that he needed to slow down. But he died sooner than he was supposed to because he expended all of his energy because he worked overtime with that. So I'm not going to follow suit with that. So I don't stay tuned in all the time. And if somebody calls me and wants a reading right on the spot, I need to call them back in like maybe 15, 20 minutes because I groom my energy. I make sure my angelic guidance are there for me to be. I can't tell anybody anything if my angelic guidance isn't there to provide the information.
And do you have to be with them? Or do you do this on the telephone as well?
99% is over the phone.
No kidding.
Yeah, I used to do email readings, but I really don't like that because they give me questions and I answer them and that's the end of it. But on the telephone, they can, if I give them an answer, they can follow it up with another question.
And do you hear back from people afterwards?
Yes.
To tell you how right on you were,
Yeah.
or not?
Yeah, they do. And it's funny, I was on a trip to Bali, and I met a woman, and she was having some problems with her son. And anyway, it was a one-time meeting. I wouldn't, but we were sitting on the bus, and it was a long bus trip. And so, Spirit came through me, and I knew they were coming through me and giving her the information because it was their connection. Because
Right.
she came with a friend,
Right.
and her friend was upset that she sat with me and not
Okay.
her.
Okay.
But anyway, excuse me. So what happened was, whatever I told her, it was maybe 3 years later, I got an email, a really long email, thanking me because she followed the advice that Spirit had given her, and everything has worked out beautifully. She's resurrected her relationship with her son, and now she has access to her grandchildren and things like that. So.
Well, that must be pretty fascinating for you to do that. I think, does it surprise you what you hear sometimes?
Yes.
And what you learn
Yes.
to tell them?
Yes.
You're remarkable. I want to point out, you've written 3 books now. Creating Heaven on Earth is one. The Darkness. This is I know this is a 3rd book you wrote.
Yes.
There's one in between. But you've communicated and had communicated. This is where you talk about the communication from John F. Kennedy.
Yeah.
And notable others that we would all know. Mention some of the names.
Robin Williams came 3 times.
What did you, I don't know if you can devote what you heard from Robin Williams.
Well, it's in there, so.
Okay, folks. Want to hear from Robin Williams? You got to get the book.
But no, he said that he did not commit suicide. He did not hang himself. That it was the Illuminati. I don't think he used the word Illuminati, but that's my interpretation. The Committee of 300 is the committee that oversees the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
And Michael Jackson went the same way. They set him up with all that negative press we saw, the cabal.
John Lennon?
John Lennon, the shooting, again, because he, in England, connected with a spaceship, and they gave him information, and he wanted to share it, and they said, oh, no. And they said that it would hurt his reputation. And then he got to the point he didn't care because the information he was getting from those in the spaceships was really good stuff, and it was helping him. So he started spreading the word, and that's what got him killed.
Princess Diana. Another one.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
mean, the list
and Marilyn Monroe.
And Marilyn, I was just going to say that.
Yeah. So they were all done away with by the Illuminati in one department or another.
Do you explain this in the book, what the Illuminati is? And you go into all of those different... Are you shocked at what you're doing right now compared to the corporate world job you were doing 30 years ago?
Yes. With this book, now the other two I had been doing classes on, and it was easy writing because I just put in there what I did, and then this one was held up because Whitney Houston had to give me...
This one? You're talking about darkness?
No, Whitney Houston is in this
Soul
one.
releasement. What's that all about?
Well, that's about, when someone dies, if their physical body is buried or cremated and their soul stays earthbound, it's called a ghost. It's called a lost soul.
Okay.
But anyway, my guidance held me up from finishing the book because they said it wasn't finished, but I put in there everything I knew and everything they had given me.
Right.
I had to wait for Whitney Houston to die because she was going to be the example. First of all, she did commit suicide. It wasn't an accidental drowning. And she attached to her daughter's energy because when she realized she had consciousness, she went to seek out her daughter and she hugged her, and when she hugged her, she stayed attached to her energy. So that's when Jesus asked me to connect with her and get her to the light. Well, because she didn't know me, we never had a connection. I had a hard time connecting with her. So finally I said to Jesus, you need to help me because I can't. So he acted as the middle guy. He brought her energy to me. Same with Robin Williams. He did the same thing. I used him as an example. I was teaching a class for the church that I'm ordained at about, they've included this into their service that they're providing to the members of the church, soul releasement, because it's a very common problem. But anyway, she and I have become very good friends, and she communicates with me from time to time just to say hello and how things are going. But she gave me the thing about, committing suicide, attaching to her daughter, going to the resting area, and then from there, Jesus brought her into where she belonged, and then he showed her that if she hadn't committed suicide, that there was a higher level she could have gotten to. So he took her there to show her that the next time she has a lifetime, that she's going to make it. And she's given me a promise that she's not going to do herself in the next time.
This is just wonderful stuff. Do you have any idea about previous lives you've had?
Yes, I remember one. See, I was wondering why I wasn't wealthy with all this work that I'm doing. And what my higher self said was I had one wealthy lifetime in royalty, and it was awful. I was like a prisoner because my parents were so afraid to let me out in public. I was kind of confined to my room or just to the kitchen, and I vowed that I would never, ever get into another royalty lifetime. But I didn't mean I didn't want wealth.
Okay, take that back. You want it, yeah.
So we can undo our contracts if we want to.
So can you help people discover their previous lives?
Yeah.
Take them through that process? Mm-hmm. What do you do with your website? What's the angelconnections.com?
Okay, well, I've got all my products and my services there, and my bio, and I've got the radio show, recordings of the radio shows, and some videos that I've done, so hopefully I'll post this one to it as well. Right. But just so that people know if they want my services, and a lot of people call from all over the country, and I go, well, usually it's a referral, a word of mouth, and I'll say, well, how do you know about me? Well, I searched the website. Not too many people do the soul releasement stuff, that's why.
So, Angel Connections, plural, angelconnections.com.
Right.
And that's where you can find out all of the information you need to know about Barbara, how to get in touch with her, how to get her books, which again, they're available on Amazon. If you've been fascinated by any of this, you certainly would want to read some of her books because they will fascinate you even more. Barbara, I wish we had more time because you are amazing, an amazing lady, one of the most interesting people I've ever talked with. And I've talked with a lot of interesting people. So thank you for sharing this time with us.
Well, thank you for spending time. I enjoyed it.
It's been wonderful.
Thank you.
For now, I'm Doug Llewellyn, CUTV News, and this is Barbara Hardie. You can find out about her again on the website, angelconnections.com. Bye for now.